Welcome back, bigots. By now you've probably heard what happened to Charlie Kirk, and as disturbing as that is, the response to what happened to Charlie is even more maddening. So, for this video, I will be showcasing what some of the video game insiders and developers and just anyone that is hovering around the video game sphere has been saying about what happened to Charlie Kirk. And some of it is deeply disappointing. And as usual, Madam Savvy finds all of the receipts. So here's a post from her describing that there's this here is a second thread. And by the way, I'm going to be posting a lot of screenshots, and they will be going by pretty quickly, but I will leave a link in the description below for you to find Savvy's post here so you can read up on what she has said at your leisure. But just for the sake of showcasing, I'll illustrate a few things. So, and a lot of the people in the screenshots you're about to see now either liked what Zoe Quinn had to say, reposted what Zoe Quinn said, but didn't write their own post because they're trying to be clever. So, here's a few screenshots. Take a look at that. Feel free to press pause anytime to read it. And like I said, there will be a link in the description below. So let's go on with the other news, because there's a lot to showcase here, and I'm going to be proving a point in this video. You'll see. Everything kind of connects in a nice, neat little package. Next we have here is Alana Farce. I call her Alana Farce. It's my own personal inside joke. Don't know if you'll find that funny or not, but I do. But she's laughing. Why is she laughing? Well, she's laughing at the comparison that people made between Charlie Kirk and Martin Luther King. I wonder why. Moving on. Jimbo, good old cancer man himself, stated this. Over the past 10 years, he's referring to Gamergate, by the way, over the past 10 years, it morphed from cringy into psychotic. Mods and administration have intentionally acted to create that change. Now, what he's kind of alluding to here is what has been happening over the past 10 years and how the Tumblr, the deviant art types have gone from posting cringy, weird stuff to being psychotically religious about what they're doing. That's basically the picture that he's painting. Next we have the unmighty Keith here, posting something that I can only define as delusion. Like, Charlie Kirk was an evil man? I don't know how you can come to that conclusion. Just because you disagreed with some of the things that he says doesn't make him a very evil man. As usual, these people do one thing and one thing only. They must invent scenarios that never happened to justify their hatred. That way, they're the good guys when someone is unalived. Disappointing, but true. Next we have Jeff Grubb, who has this knee slapper. I'm sure he found this hilarious, but what I find is hilarious is that he hasn't been relevant since Giant Bomb. Good luck with that, Grubb. Next we have Brian, who belongs to Kotaku, by the way, saying this. I'm going to keep going because there's more examples. Alyssa Mercante, a name we all should be intimately familiar with, is saying something very interesting here, and it comes at the very last part of the last sentence. And that the right will no longer, quote, bring a knife to a gunfight, end quote. What she's alluding to is what I'm about to describe to you here, what I'm about to showcase, which is a response. Yes, there's going to be a response to mocking and ridiculing what happened to Charlie Kirk. And we're going to start with this. Drew here works for Sucker Punch. I said worked. Past tense. She said this, and then she got fired. That's what's going to happen more often. In fact, if you go on X, if you go on the internet, you're going to find a whole lot of examples of people getting fired for ridiculing, mocking, and celebrating what happened to Charlie Kirk. Next we have this collage. There's no way I'm going to read all of those. But if you want to, right-click, save image as on your desktop. That way you can increase the size of the picture so you can read all of that if that's something you want to do. It's vile, and it's disturbing, and it's disgusting behavior. But again, I'm just showcasing the behavior for a reason. I'm getting somewhere with this. But next, now you've seen the response to what happened to Charlie Kirk. Now let's get into what else these crazies are saying. And the second, if ridiculing what happened to Charlie isn't enough, it gets worse. Now they're asking who's next, and they're posting pictures and names of who they want next. Here's a couple more screenshots of them literally creating a list. Creating a list of people that they want unalived. Now, this is not protected speech. I want to articulate that. When you make viable threats on somebody else's life, that is not protected under the First Amendment. Saying you don't like somebody, saying you don't agree with them, is protected free speech. But saying these types of things is not protected under the First Amendment. Next we have Mr. Lee, somebody I follow on X. I appreciate everything he does. He posted a couple of quotes that Hassan Piker has been saying recently. And what this proves is the left, the liberal left, behaves like this on the regular. Again, I'm painting a picture. I am building a case of their behavior. Okay? As I've made videos about behavior before. Patterns of behavior. I'm showing you more patterns of behavior. Because pattern recognition is important. And here's another example. Something that's even more disturbing. Now, this is sent to, this little message was sent to Melanie Mack. Now, you may disagree with her. You may disagree with some of her religious positions or theology. But what I do not approve of at all, in any way, shape, and form, is this comment. This, again, is not protected speech. This is a violent act. This is wishing harm on someone and voicing that you're going to commit that harm. This is not protected under the First Amendment. This is an articulable violent speech that can be acted upon, and that's not protected. And so here's the guy's profile, and talks about himself like most egotists do. Now, if you're wondering, Dan, all you're showing me is cherry-picked examples of this behavior. No, I showed you several screenshots of other screenshots within those screenshots. So it's not just one picture. There are many pictures within the picture showcasing patterns of behavior. But if that's not enough for you, oh no, that's fine. I got you covered. Go on YouTube and look up TFP Student Action. It's a Catholic YouTube channel that mostly posts a lot of anti-abortion protests and things of that nature. You should see the response that these Catholics get. People like just outright violently attacking them, punching them, kicking them, trying to tackle them, ripping their signs out of their hands, taking their pamphlets and eating them. You heard me right. Eating paper. And they think that actually does something. So, again, patterns of behavior. Now, where is all this leading to? Well, it's leading to a response. Some responses are going to be more extreme than the others, but nevertheless, Flash here is saying that he has discontinued, that he's rescinded his pre-ordered copy of Ghost of Yotai, the game that Sucker Punch was working on, the game that Drew got fired from. That studio that made this game, Drew got fired from. So they're no longer going to be playing this game. Grums, I don't think, is going to be playing that game either. And somebody that I didn't catch in the screenshot here is Master of the TDS. They also basically said the same thing, which is, yeah, I'm not going to play the game anymore after what has been happening. No, I wasn't planning on playing that game anyway because of what the voice actor has done. So I was already out of the not going to buy it. I already belonged to the I'm not going to buy it camp. So there's that. Now, where is all this leading to? Leading to this. Everything that I've just showed you is leading towards this. They set the precedent. They told us to conform or be ruined. Here's one more screenshot of that type of behavior. This is just one. I just typed in, don't be fascist. And this is the first thing that I saw when I typed that, don't be fascist, on X. This is their behavior. This is their behavioral pattern. This is how they act. This is what they believe. They believe that we are to be subservient to their ideology or suffer the consequences. That's their culture. Now, what I find, kind of funny in all of this, slight bit of brevity, not that much, but, I just say slight, is Michael of Legacy Killer HD. I've reported on this guy before. I think I made videos on him before. He's now surprised. He's receiving death threats because he said, whoa, guys, hey, don't celebrate somebody else's death. That's insane. Now he's receiving death threats for being reasonable. And these are all these patterns of behavior, and I specifically told him, patterns of behavior, Michael. Patterns of behavior. We had a little beef, and I told him, patterns of behavior. Michael, I'm telling you now, again, patterns of behavior. And I responded to him, and I said this. I tried to warn you, Michael. The uglification of women in games, the transifying of characters in games, the emasculation of men in games, the hyperfixation on homosexuality in games, the brazen anti-whiteness in articles and statements from people like Jason Schreier all have one thing in common. That common thread, that common thing, is their ideology. The ideology of wokeness, which, in reality, is just Marxism. That same ideology demands that nonconformists be unalived. Their ideology demands that if you don't agree with their morality, their version of morality, that is, then you become their enemy, and their enemy deserves death. That is their belief. And we have expressed that so many times here on this channel, on X, on Gab, and from everywhere else where people have two brain cells rubbed together have been saying the exact same thing. Now, I also had this to say. I just wanted to talk about video games. The apolitical joy of Spyro the Dragon, the adventures of Half-Life, the power fantasy of Doom, the beauty of Myst, the nostalgia of Mario Brothers, the platforming perfection of Donkey Kong Country, the storytelling of The Witcher 3, and the thrill of Mirror's Edge. But no, you liberals have bred an entire generation of sociopaths, unwilling to let us enjoy our hobby. So, by your unhinged Marxist doctrine, you decided to infiltrate our hobbies, corrupting them wherever you go, forcing us to talk about your insanity and how unreasonable you people are. Then, you did what you did to Charlie Kirk, and then you celebrated it. The moral high ground you banal drones claim to be standing firmly upon was always an illusion. An illusion we tolerated in the hopes of you seeing reason through rational, safe debate. It's clear you won't see reason. Now comes the response that you believed would never come. I just wanted to talk about video games. The left has woken up today after Charlie Kirk's demise, only to discover that the right, that conservatives, are done talking. You're going to be fired from your jobs. You're going to understand that we're done being patient with you. You're going to understand that we've tolerated you long enough. We told you our patience had its limits. You've just reached it. In the gaming sphere, we're going to uncover each and every time a developer, a writer, or an executive has celebrated what happened to Charlie Kirk. And we're going to report it. And you're probably going to get fired for it. We're going to purge our hobbies and society at large of your temper tantrum throwing madness. It's high time you finally received the spankings you have all been begging for. Now, I don't think you understand the gravity of your behavior. Charlie Kirk was a mild-mannered, polite, and respectable person who just wanted to talk with you. Not all of us are like that. I don't want to pat myself on the back too much here, but I did make a video a year ago explaining the situation we're in now. I explained that we're not just dealing with a culture war. We are, but it's not just a culture war. We're dealing with a moral war. The left imagines that their radical Marxist leanings are inherently morally good. Again, I explained all of this in A New Kind of War. So, what do people that believe themselves to be saints and gods among men will do? Well, they'll start by calling you fascist, homophobes, bigots, etc. They demonize you to create a reason to hate you. After they've created a reason to hate you, their violence against you becomes justified. But now the tables are turning. Why? Because you created the rules to live by, liberals, and that was cancel culture. Cancel culture was one of your little rules to live by. You will reap what you have sown, and be thankful, be utterly grateful that we have self-control and will only commit ourselves to getting you fired and shamed. Consider this a lesson. Consider this a learning experience. That's all the time I have for this video. If you like what you heard, please like and subscribe to all the happy social stuff. Find me on Odyssey, find me on Gab, I'm on X. And if you can, I know it's pretty bleak out there, but if you can, have fun.